Here we go. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the April 18th, 2023 check-in meeting for Youth Services Librarians in the South Central Library System. Glad that you're all here with us today. I will pop the agenda into today's meeting chat. So you have it if you need it. And oh, 1 second. I'm letting people in as well as putting things in chat. Okay. Agenda just was shared in the chat. This agenda is it's a document that anybody can edit. So as we're talking this afternoon for the next hour, if there's something that you want to make sure that I get in the notes, the agenda turns into the notes. So please feel free to go ahead and edit the agenda if you need to. Okay, I'm really excited today. As I mentioned in the emails that recently went out, we have a special guest joining us at 1:30. Becky from Beanstack is joining us. And I met Becky at the ALA conference in January. It was all the way back in January, and she was a kindred spirit. So I think we're all going to enjoy speaking with her and learning more about Beanstack from her. All right. Before I jump in and just do some of the system reports that I have here, does anybody want to add a discussion topic? Are there any questions that you'd like to run past your colleagues at today's meeting? Okay.
I've got one.
Yeah, Bethany.
So this week we have a couple of readers coming over from our bank. And this is kind of my first time kind of working with readers for story time. So I was wondering if you guys have any like policies in place, like things you look for when you have these people that approach you for guest reading. I know some libraries are just like, no, please do not. That is for the librarians to do. But then in some cases, it's like, do you provide the book? Do you let them pick the book and things like that? So I'd be curious to hear about that.
I say let's jump into that discussion right now. So if anybody has ideas for Bethany, let's go into it. Nicole from Stevens Point.
Good morning or afternoon, I guess. I didn't have enough coffee today, I guess. So Bethany, I have come to say that we don't allow that because I found that I get requests from the most random people. And most of the time it's people who want to promote their own business. And so they really have no experience doing this. Oftentimes they want to read books that are very specific to whatever their business is, and they're not good books. And I have people just kind of walking in and be like, oh, I used to read to my grandkids, or I was a teacher 40 years ago, or, I'm exaggerating, but I've just had some really weird requests. And so across the board, we just say no. We're professionally trained, we're really good at it, and our families are used to the way we do it. The only exception I've made is for like local authors. Sometimes I'll allow them to come in and maybe like at the end of our story time, I would have one of them like read their own book that they just published, something like that.
Thank you. Any other words of advice?
I'm actually curious about this as well, because I was thinking of doing kind of like a story time that was like monthly and highlighted different like grown-up jobs and asking community members to read. But So that's like a kind of a different scenario where like I'm asking people to come in and read. So I'd just be curious if anyone's done something like that and has any advice for that. I would assume that I would probably pick the book since most people would not be super familiar with children's literature.
Yeah. We have guests in Cambridge. I'm going to have a policeman. We have some very talented retired teachers. In fact, they help me out if I can't make story time. Sometimes they fill in for me. We're going to maybe have the principal. It usually works out fine, and I usually supplement with the songs and everything else. I haven't had a problem.
Do you choose the books, Patty?
I usually do. I choose a few and they can pick from the stack. They can pick one or two from the stack. I have one retired teacher. She really wanted to read. I can't think what it was. It was a good one. She really wanted to read one, and it was, I think it was an Eric Carle book. So yeah, so that was fine. Sometimes they bring their own fan club, which is, I have one lady, and oh yeah, she had friends who she kind of recruited to come to story time even.
Benefit. Bethany, I think you asked, did you ask about policies you used? I want to make sure that I'm capturing what your question was.
Yeah, so policy is, in this sense, for me, is just like, what is your general rule of practice, basically.
Okay.
I wasn't really looking for like, we need this in writing. I was just like trying to gauge what people do.
Go ahead, Catherine.
I've had really good luck with this. And especially when I have someone who can bring kind of an activity at the end of story time. So maybe I'll read most of the books and they'll read one book and then move into an activity. Like we had a great firefighter who showed the kids how he puts on all of his gear until he's completely obscured with the gas mask. And then he goes around and he gives them all a high five, so that they're not scared of that when they see a firefighter completely in costume. And then we had also a physician's assistant who came, and he brought in his stethoscope, and we set up a little stuffed animal clinic. So he examined the stuffed animals and put bandages on them and listened to their heartbeat and all that sort of thing. So that was good. I did have an experience where I had a dentist who, he just went on and was going into like too much talk for the kids. So I had to rein him in. So my advice would be ready to jump in if you need to jump in and kind of cut somebody off and redirect to your own audience. That's all I would say. But in general, we've had good luck.
Anyone else? I know it's something that I used to do, also maybe more along the lines of what Catherine and Patty are describing, where I would go out, and Jess, you did too, where I would ask community members and provide some samples of books for them to read, and phrasing it that, these are the books that support the theme or support, the goal of this week's story time. And I'd love for you to choose 2 of these books out of the 5 that I provided. Great. Thank you, Bethany. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing how things go. Keep us posted in the upcoming meetings.
Yeah, the first one was today and it went pretty well. So I'm relatively optimistic.
Oh, good. Who did you have today?
Today was the HR person over at the bank, and then they're sending over
That's
a
right, you
different
said that.
volunteer for Thursday. So,
That's
but
right.
yeah,
Thank
she
you.
was great, and yeah, the kids seemed like they weren't overly squirrely or anything. Like it was pretty normal. So she read one book, and then I basically just finished out the story time like I normally do, with more books, more songs, and that's it. So
Was it a book about money or what?
yeah, so today she read Curious George. Give me a sec.
Oh, I was just curious.
So she read Curious George saves his, oh, it's obscuring it. Curious George saves his pennies. This one is quite a bit longer, like Curious George books usually are. And I mentioned to her prior, like we've been emailing back and forth, like here's what I normally do and things like that. And I mentioned to her that it was a little bit longer. So if she wanted to stop at a certain point and then like go to the end of the story, she could. And she ended up doing that today, which was fine. And then for Thursday, this little critter book, Just Saving My Money. This one is actually pretty close to the text to picture ratio that I would normally do for my story times. So this one was a little bit closer, so I'm less worried about that one. Other than that, for the other books that I'm reading, I'm going Maisie Goes Shopping and Sheep in a Shop, because they all have their coinage, and Sheep in a Shop also goes over swapping because they don't have enough money, so they sell their wool. So it's been fun. My kids had fun today.
Thanks for those book recommendations too. I'll make sure to include them in the notes. Yeah, anytime someone has books that work well in story times, we want to hear about them. Okay. Any other discussion topics or questions for one another? Okay. So I'll put the agenda in the notes again. We have a few people who have recently joined us. Make sure that you have the agenda. And then I can move on to some of the information that I just want to quickly share with you or remind you of. So as I mentioned last month, South Central is moving at the very end of May. The last week of May is our big moving date. And I have everything blurred behind me so you don't see what disarray my office is in, or that's my excuse for today. So part of the reason, or part of the reason why I'm mentioning that we're moving today is because this affects summer library program printing. Please, as I mentioned last time, any printing that you have for Deb, any printing needs or graphic needs that you have for Deb Hefner, please get them to her as soon as possible. We will very likely not have access to any copy machines or printers at the end of May. In addition to us moving, Badger State Industries, which used to do printing projects for us and other state agencies, is no longer in business. So printing, the sooner the better, especially as we're getting into summer library program planning. Are there any questions about printing? I know some things are being sent out. Wonderful. Please let me know or let Deb know if you have any printing questions. The other piece about our move is, as I've mentioned in the past, I receive review copies from a number of publishers, and I don't want to move as many of those books as the books that I have. So It is in your notes. I'm going to copy it here, and you guys get first crack at it. I just copied a Google form that you can let me know if you want me to send you books. And these are books that you can use for any purpose other than putting them in your book sale. So I know a lot of libraries, Brooke in New Glarus, I just sent some books to her, and she's here today for incentives, for reading program incentives. You can use them as giveaways for summer library program or other literacy activities. You can put them into your collection if you want to. So please let me know what you want. Be liberal and free with your requests. I have a lot of books that need homes, and I'm hoping to get them out by the first week of May. So I will be, wearing my sneakers and jeans to work a lot in the next couple of weeks, not only for packing, but also for loading up books and sending them out to you. Does anybody have questions about that? Oh, thanks, Brooke. I'm glad that the kids are loving the books at New Glarus, and thanks to everybody who has taken them or has requested them. These books can be used in outreach projects. So if you have outreach, you're going out to community centers this summer, you can give those books away there too. They just cannot be put in your library's book sale. All right, any other questions? Okay. Another really fun, big project that I'm working on and got a lot of work done on yesterday is we have very exciting workshops scheduled for Monday, May 15th at 9 a.m. Now, this typically is not the time that we ever do webinars or workshops, but this one is so good, and it is really the only time that we could get the presenters in the next several months. So the presentation, I'm going to put a link to it. It's in today's agenda, and then I'll share it with you right here. The May 15th presentation is called Relax, Take a Deep Breath, and Read a Comic. The presenters are one public librarian and one school librarian from Louisiana. And they did a similar presentation that I saw at the ALA conference in January. And it was a great presentation, not only about collection development and comic books and graphic novels, but also how can we look at comic books and graphic novels as ways for connecting with emotion, as ways for connecting with feelings, and even as experiences for librarians' own personal self-compassion. I haven't seen another presentation quite like it. I think it is, I thought it was really great. The presenters are wonderful speakers, and we are moving forward with that webinar. I wanted to have it before the summer library program. I think it will be appropriate for librarians who serve people of all ages. I think tweens and teens might be a little more appropriate. And Bethany, it will be recorded. Yes, it will be recorded, especially because it's on Monday at 9 a.m. So I hope that we have people who are able to join us live on Monday. I'll send out lots of reminders, and also it will be recorded. If you have any questions about that webinar or about the topic, please feel free to forward those on to me. At South Central, I'm doing a little more continuing education, coordinating and planning. And so I'm really looking forward to this year identifying presentations and identifying programs that are unique, are innovative, and that are helpful for you as you provide service to your communities. So if you hear about a speaker or you hear a speaker, let me know. Some of the other topics that we have that we're thinking about are teen brain development. That's something that came up at the last teen check-in meeting, which we have one tomorrow at 1, and other kind of social service needs too. So that is a webinar I am very excited about. Okay, let me check my other. I just was in a DPI meeting right before this one, and so I included updates in our agenda. So the big update is, yes, we have Beanstack. DPI thanks everybody for the patience. We have the Beanstack subscription through the end of April 2025, so another 2 years. They're going to be spending 2024 and early 25 kind of evaluating the service, similar to how they did this year. And they promise that they will make decisions sooner, that if we like Beanstack, we won't be put in the situation we were this year with waiting until the last minute. They're fully staffed now, and the process will go a little bit smoother. They also remind us that school libraries are also using Beanstack this year. The subscription has been extended to school libraries. And on Thursday, I just learned about this. On Thursday, there is a webinar that will be recorded that Beanstack is doing that will describe how you can partner with your school library to have a successful project or successful partnership with your school folks using Beanstack. So as soon as I find out more information about that later today, I'll send you that information. There is a link to that webinar and to the registration information in today's agenda. And once again, today's agenda, I'll put it into the chat. And there it is. Other information that we talked about or that we heard about at today's DPI check-in meeting is some great news from the WLA, from the Youth Services section of the WLA. Last month, I kind of hinted at the fact that YSS, Youth Services Section, was looking at taking over a statewide performers showcase. And yes, indeed, they are. So in today's agenda, I've linked to information about their plans so far for the statewide performer showcase, that it will be online. It will be recorded and archived for 30 days. There will be some type of fee involved, depending on your level of WLA and YSS membership. They didn't hint at that. In the past, this is YSS webinars have been $25 for non-members. So just, I don't know if that will be the price, but just to gauge, if you're not a member, that's what their webinars have cost in the past for non-members. They also want to know ahead of time about any performer recommendations. So in today's agenda, I've linked to a spreadsheet where they're asking for statewide input about performers who you would recommend. And they're also looking for information about performers who you wouldn't recommend. They're going to somehow include that in probably a file protected or password protected document, so people know what they're getting in for. I'm excited about this, and I hope that you all are excited about it too. The performers showcase, the live performers showcase actually takes place the day after our in-person youth programming workshop, which will be held on November 9th at Olbrich. So let me know if you have presentation ideas or presenter topics that you'd like me to look into for November 9th. I'm starting to plan that program right now. I see that our special guest is here. So I just want to point out a few other things. As we know, CCBC Choices is now entirely online. I've linked to that in today's meeting notes. And I also heard something very interesting at the last hour's meeting about the Healing Library project that the Milton Public Library is doing. I hadn't heard about the Healing Library is actually a service. It's actually a company that provides kits about topics such as anxiety, immigration. At Milton, they've done a combination of purchasing materials from Healing Library as well as putting together their own kits. I thought it was really interesting that Jamie from Milton mentioned that looking at their CIRC statistics, anger issues was the #1 kit that went out. And this is a kit where there's books in a tote and maybe a fidget or something like that. Anger issues and worry and anxiety were #2. So we're looking at mental health of our communities and especially mental health of our families. And I thought that I could maybe have Jamie come and talk about this project at a future meeting, maybe even, I'll see if she's available next month. Okay. All right. Wow. Well, Becky, you jumped on right in time. You got to hear a few of our
Perfect.
remarks, but we are finished with the system updates. So
Awesome.
So welcome, Becky. Becky Garrity from Beanstack or from Zoobean is our Wisconsin contact for Beanstack. You missed a few minutes ago, was talking about and celebrating the fact that Wisconsin, yes, has renewed
Thankfully.
its membership for 2 years. So we're really happy about that.
We are too. We're super excited. I'm super excited that it's finally like official and in the world, and it's not something that I'm just like, well, we're trying and hopefully, and the plan is. So super exciting. Really looking forward to that. And yeah, thanks for having me here today, Sean. It's really exciting. Hello, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, like Sean said, I'm Becky Garrity. I am the Beanstack rep for all of the libraries in Wisconsin. I've definitely met some of you. I've talked to a bunch of you through Zoom and at conferences and things. But basically, I am here for anything and everything Beanstack that you might need, whether that is a 15-minute Zoom call or a 1 hour, how the heck do we do this kind of walkthrough. Whatever I can be helpful with, I'm here for you. So today, I think I just wanted to kind of pop in and say hi and cover, some really high level things about Beanstack in general. But I do want to open the floor, most importantly, I think, for just questions from all of you or thoughts, feelings, anything Beanstack wise that you might want to share. Sean, I don't know if I was going to share my screen to show like the one demo site, but it says I'm not allowed. So if you could give me that permission, that'd be tops. But yeah, you can go ahead. Questions, concerns. If you've not started with Beanstack yet, then by all means, it's not too late to do so. So, please feel free to reach out if that's something that you're interested in doing, interested in trying. But yeah, so let me go ahead and get my site up here. And I can highlight a few things, but I will also open the chat, or you can come off mute and ask questions. The floor is yours while I get myself figured out. Nothing off the top of anybody's head? All right. Well, then I just have a couple things that I want to highlight as we go into summer, as we talk about like summer prep and getting ready. Obviously, it is the middle of April. It is fast upon us. For those of you that are live and are using Beanstack, just some things to keep in mind. I will be out of town. I will be in Scotland from the 19th to the 28th of May. So if you are not a live site, if your site is still in sandbox mode, or you're hoping to, maybe start setting your site up and getting it ready to go for June 1, just keep that in mind. There will be people here who can certainly get your site live on my behalf and take care of all that good stuff for you. But if you send me an email between the 15th or between the 19th and the 28th and I don't respond, it's because I'm not here. So big heads up on that. Also just wanted to kind of say that in general, we do recommend allowing time for pre-registration. So if you have a challenge that's maybe starting on June 1st, or I think like June 5th is like the first Monday or something, it's not the worst idea in the world to open it up a little bit ahead of time to let people register, get those accounts created, get those passwords reset, since everyone probably forgot them from last year, all of those good things. Not the worst thing to do either. Another, if you're feeling particularly ambitious, that you can do, and one of the challenge templates that I do want to show you for this year is we do have our spring reading 2023 up. Now is a really good time to do one of these, even if it is only going to run for like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. The cool thing about a spring reading challenge is it does give people, again, that kind of invitation and that ability to pop into Beanstack, remind themselves of their account, create an account if they don't already have some, all of that good stuff. So if you're interested in kind of priming the pump, definitely recommend a spring reading challenge. Oh, thanks, Bethany. Bethany says she's almost set up and ready to go. She just needs to add her prizes. Oh, also just a heads up with the prize drawings. If you're doing just like if you're doing unticketed drawings, you don't have to set those up before you go live with summer. You can wait till the end, but prize drawings you do need to set up ahead of time because you have to have all the details in there. For those that may be still looking to set up, I did want to show off the CSLP templates. If this is the art that you're using this year, we do have all of it in here for you. We just do it based on whatever the ages they give us are. We've used their art. I find the early literacy art to be a little scary, but that's just me. I always find at least one age group of CSLP art to be a little frightening. All of this is in here. If you're interested in using one of these templates, all you have to do is click use this template. And what it's going to do is open up that challenge editing portal or that challenge editing menu. So you have the ability to add prizes, change your goals, do whatever it is that you need. Another thing that, question that we're getting like a lot through the pandemic, after the pandemic, is just this idea around making it easiest way to get prizes. Do we even need prizes? You have my permission, whether you needed it or wanted it or not, to not have physical prizes if you're tired of them. You also have my permission to combine the ages of your challenges if it makes more sense to have a kids and an adults. We're seeing a lot of change. We're seeing a lot of shakeup when it comes to the norm or the way it's always been done. I have a library in Baltimore, Enoch Pratt, a library in Baltimore that did away with age groups entirely. So they have one big 0 to 110 challenge. All of the goals are the same. Everybody does the same thing. So it's a big year for change. It's a big year for difference. If you don't have prizes, that's okay. If you want everybody to just get a free book at the end, that's okay. I'd say 90% of the conversations that I've had with librarians over the last couple of weeks have been, do you think it's okay if we don't X? Or do you think it's okay if I switch from books to minutes finally? And it is. You're totally allowed. So as you're looking through these templates, just kind of remember, nothing is set in stone. Even if a challenge is set up like this one is, to log on minutes, you can change that. Whatever works for your community is really what works best for us in the end. And when you're done editing one of these or changing a template, you just want to make sure that you hit save and exit. And then when you're ready for it to be public, that's when you do the draft button. Other things that I kind of wanted to point out, just as far as, new for the summer or new for 2023, we also have the iRead art. So if you're not a CSLP library, you're more of an iRead fan, we have that as well. And then we also have our own art. So if you are, again, I give you permission to go away from the norm. If you're interested in trying a different theme, these are bilingual themes. They have Spanish badges and English badges. So it's kind of a fun, little mix up. The art is really cute. It's a little weird, but it's like, I think it's really adorable. We have one that goes along with the badge book. If any of you had purchased badge books, there's a template that goes specifically with those. And if you're interested in that art and that theme and those templates, but you didn't buy badge books, there's like an empty one as well. The bonus thing with the generic one is just by using the template, you are qualified to win cash money from us at the end of the summer, depending on, you know, top logging, best marketing, different things like that. So it's sort of an unofficial sponsored summer challenge. In years past, you've had to sign up for things and download things. This year, in the spirit of keeping it simple, just use the template, you know, just pop it on your site, get people in there, and you could win money from us. I think template wise, I mean, there's always exciting and new things. And I know that, you know, a lot of us get into the habit of just doing our summer and just doing our 1,000 books. But we update new challenges all the time. Whether you're ready to or not, the back to school challenge is up. Summer hasn't even started. Kids haven't even left school, but just in case you're planning that far ahead, there's the template for you. We also have a number of templates that have, let me find one, articles included. Anything you see that says articles included, it includes articles. But basically this is content that comes from us. We have a partner with it's like an education publishing house, and they like produce these short little articles that we attach to challenges like this, but they're great because the content is in there. It's very little that you actually have to do. Super low lift, super low pressure, really easy way to get 365 kind of engagement without, you know, blood, sweat, and tears every single time. And then anything that you see that has, let me find it, a reading list. So these are all articles included. Oh, where'd it go? Where's the AP American Lit one? Like this AP English one says reading list. That means that the challenge has a set list of books that your patrons have to read those books in order to progress through. You can also create reading list challenges. We haven't marketed that feature as much as we've done like with bingo or some of our other reading challenge templates or types. But if you ever want to create a list of books that they have to read, or a challenge based around like a state book list per se, or it's mental health month, try these resources out, you can do that now. But there's always pre-created ones on there with the reading list. And I think that's kind of all I wanted to cover with the templates. Site-wise, for those of you that are familiar with it, not a lot's different this year. We've had an interesting couple months here at Beanstack with people coming and going and coming and going. So we had some very minor, just sort of nibbly bit kind of changes on the library side that have been made. One of those is now like, if you search for someone, so if I look up my dear sweet boy Enzo, who is a cat, I don't have a child named Enzo, we can take a look at his reading log, and we can now see his streak in this part. So if he's keeping that streak on the app or keeping that streak on the web, you now have access to that. And we've also put the reading log inside the screen instead of it being that like kind of weird pop out or open a different tab. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. So there shouldn't be too much in the way of training your staff, you know, retraining, new things to get them to. If anything, it should be a pretty easy summer from Beanstack, hopefully. And of course, if you need anything from me at any time, I am here for you. Always here for my Wisconsin pals. And I'm in the works of convincing them to let me go to WLA again. So hopefully I will see you all in Madison, right? Madison? Okay. So then I'll have checked off Green Bay, Lake Geneva, and Madison on my tour of Wisconsin. Oh, Sean, I can't hear you. I think you might still be muted.
I'm muted. I double mute all the time. Wisconsin is a beautiful state, and we cover a lot of the territory, the system in Wisconsin. So if you ever feel like taking the South Central Library System tour,
that's what I need to do.
Yeah, August through October, that could be a really beautiful time.
Wonderful. One of these years, I'm just gonna have like, well, I feel like every summer I just need to make my husband tour another state with me, because I do have like a number of, state deals or just like a lot of clients in one state. So like we definitely need to do Wisconsin. I just adopted New Mexico as a client. I'd love to do New Mexico. So, but I mean, my heart's in Wisconsin.
Aw, thanks, Becky.
You're my people. But yeah, definitely excited for the continued membership. And with that in mind, if anybody on here has not yet tried Beanstack or ever logged into it, or some children's librarian logged into it 3 years ago and did nothing, let me know. We can get you restarted. It's never too late. There's always time to give something new a try. I knew I only had a half hour, so I condensed what I wanted to talk about, and I went too fast.
It's all good. Are there any questions for Rebecca? I'm looking at chat.
Catherine? I saw you come off mute.
You're quick, Becky. Here's a quick question. So I'm looking at your reading log for Enzo.
Yes.
And I noticed that the reading log has different units. One has books, one
Yeah.
has minutes, one has a day. So are those somehow within your one challenge, or did you have to set up like extra challenges for different units?
The answer is both. So you can set up a challenge that would have multiple log types in it. That would be a points-based challenge. And basically what you're saying in a challenge like that is you're going to give your badges or your recognition, your milestone markers based on a number of points earned. And then you can say like a day of reading is worth 10 points, an hour of reading is worth 2 points, a book is worth 5 points or something like that. And then folks can kind of choose their own adventure, how they're earning the points. You can also have multiple challenges running at the same time that have different log types. You can have your fall challenge be books and your summer challenge be minutes. It really kind of depends on what lends itself well to the challenge. I think in this case, if I'm remembering, there's a couple Enzos in here. This Enzo is in 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. So his books entries he had logged like 500 books for 1,000 books. But then he was also in a minutes challenge, I think last summer, or last spring, where he logged those particular minutes.
Okay.
You can have all sorts of stuff going at once.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? And if not, I'll fade back into the background.
Sure. Well, and what I want to emphasize is how grateful I am that the DPI is using IMLS funds to fund the purchase of our statewide subscription to Beanstack. When people ask me for help to set up their accounts, I send them to Rebecca. I give them Becky's email address. So she is the expert. We also have experts here who have been using it for the past 3 years. So feel free to send out questions to Kids List. We can send questions directly to Becky. I put her email address in today's notes. You can let me know and I can forward those questions to Rebecca. We're just so happy that we have this service, which we actually quickly got right about 3 years ago when the pandemic hit.
It was fast, because I'm pretty sure the final signatures came like nowish. And then there was like 200 of y'all that came on at one time in like 3 weeks. It was very chaotic, but it was a good time. We had fun.
We all learned from each other.
Yes. Oh, Jess, I'm so happy you love us. That makes me happy.
Aw, thanks, Jess. Thanks, everybody else. Oh, see, I told you this is such a great group, Rebecca.
No, well,
Yeah.
I've literally never attended a Wisconsin call or a Wisconsin conference and just not had like a really nice time. So that's why you get my
Whoop,
vote.
whoop.
I'm from the Northeast where we like look mean but are nice. And then like you go west and like you are nice and you look nice. And it's just like, oh, hi. You guys are so great.
Ah, well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Any other last minute questions for Rebecca? If not, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to stop in and say hi and see some faces that I haven't seen in a little bit. And if any of you email me in the next week or so, I am running on like a 3-day delay, because for any of you that knew Tracy Johnson, my other like client success, she has moved on. She left us. She abandoned us. So when we say the library client success team, it's me. It is I for the current time being. So I am running on a bit of an email delay, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. And I will absolutely get back to you. Promise. Just might be at 2 a.m. Don't look at the time I reply.
I hope you're not doing work at 2 o'clock in the morning. We talk a
Not
lot
every
about,
morning.
no, I know. We talk a lot here with the colleagues here about self-compassion and
Oh
self-care.
yeah.
And
I take a lot of naps if it makes you
okay,
feel better.
okay,
That's the
good.
beautiful thing about working from home, is that like I'll work till 2, but I also have a nice nap at 3.
Yeah, yeah, good. You're taking care of yourself, and I hope
I'm
everybody
trying.
else.
I'm trying.
Good,
All right,
good.
guys. Well,
Okay,
thank you so much. Always a pleasure. And you know where to find me if you need me.
great. Have a great vacation.
Thank you. We're very excited. It's for my mom's birthday. She's never been out of the country, so we picked Scotland because we're hoping it's a little more gentle. My sister studied abroad there, so she has created an entire itinerary with, she's got all the Airbnbs booked. We have our like Loch Ness tour booked already. And now it's just time for me to like actually buy all the stuff that I've added to like that Amazon wish list of like, oh, stuff that would be nice to travel to. But like I travel all the time anyway,
Yeah.
so it's just bougie things that I don't need, but we'll see. I own waterproof sneakers now. Why not?
Good idea for Scotland.
Yes. All right. I'll let y'all go.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good rest of your meeting. I'm gonna try to leave and not end the meeting. I'm really good at doing
Oh,
that.
you know what?
So
I'll take away co-host from you. Then you don't have to worry
perfect.
about it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay. So feel free to check in with each other, send messages to Kids List or Teen Talk if you have questions about how others are using Beanstack and setting up challenges. And seriously, you are always welcome to reach out directly to Becky, Becky or Rebecca. She doesn't mind. She goes by both. I think she goes by Becky more than Rebecca. So anything more about that? Okay. I mentioned that our youth programming workshop, the in-person youth programming workshop, is taking place on November 9th, and that I'm looking for topic ideas, presenter ideas. I'm always, like reading up and looking for people who, I think are going to be great speakers or topics. We usually try to do something that is appropriate, or the program ideas for school age kids. This used to be the summer library program workshop, but we've expanded it to all year long, with kind of highlighting some ideas for the summer library program. Also, if you have other ideas for webinars or discussions, just send them my way and I can help facilitate those. I probably don't have all the answers, but I can help find those answers, as all of us do in our daily lives. I'm spending a lot of time with intellectual freedom issues As I've mentioned before, I am the primary intellectual freedom contact at South Central. I work in tandem, though, with others on the consultant team. Tracy Miller helps with policy questions. We are looking at a July 20th program, in-person program at the Penny Branch Library in Madison about intellectual freedom, where we hope to have members from the CCBC come in and present kind of an adapted version of the program they did for us a couple of years ago. And I'm going to be sending out surveys about what are your thoughts about, or what are your needs for intellectual freedom, so that we can, really create a program that attends to what people are thinking about. Finally, I have linked in the agenda to some of our archived continuing education recordings. There is one from the Youth Services section, Social Emotional Learning Resources for Youth, as well as a link to the CCBC Shorts webinar recording. We do the CCBC Shorts webinars every month. And I'm trying to, I did not include the next one. Sorry about that. I'll get updated CCBC choices on the notes. We have another meeting next month, next May 16th. It's another Tuesday at 1 p.m. I'll see if we can have Jamie Anderson join us from Milton to talk about the Healing Library. And it probably will be the last time we have a check-in meeting before summer library program begins. So if you have questions about SLP, we can talk about those, or discussions, we can talk to each other about them. I do have a June 11th, June. Oh, I don't have the date here. I'll put it on there. We do have a meeting scheduled for June to check in, knowing that that is often right in the middle of summer library program, but it often is a time for us to connect with each other and talk about, oh, how excited we are, and how chaotic but exciting things are at the library. So we will meet again in June. Then we'll take July and August off and meet up again in September. September, I'm actually hoping to host the library from the CCBC and have an opportunity for people to come visit the CCBC if you're around. Otherwise, we will have a virtual meeting at the CCBC and folks can see it virtually. We'll have the online meeting from there. So in our last 6 minutes, I hope that you all feel comfortable asking questions or bringing up any discussion ideas that came up during our hour together. If you have anything, any exciting announcements, any programs that you're excited about? Okay.
We have
Jess.
we have a really nice insect exhibit going on here at Verona. It's for all ages. A lot of adults are looking at it because it's like micro sculptures, like really close up photos of insects, and they're really cool. So if you're in the area, check it out. And so we've been theming a lot of our kids programming around bugs this month to tie it in. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I have a tween program where instead of making like candy sushi, we're going to make candy bugs. So that should be pretty interesting. So wish me luck, and it should be fun.
Love it. I love bugs. Any other topics that are going particularly well at any libraries? Well, it's good to see everybody. It's good to hear from everybody. Thank you for joining us. This isn't our only opportunity to connect. We can connect via the email lists. You can contact me if you have discussions that you want to bring up at upcoming youth services meetings. These meetings are for you all, for all of us to connect with each other and learn from one another. So your ideas really set the agenda and the tone of the meeting. Thanks for attending. I hope there's no snow on the ground where you are, and I hope there's no snow on the ground for our next meeting in May. Thanks all. I'm going to stop the recording.